Let
that's
me
fine.
start by asking you, who is this amazing filmmaker when you're not involved with anything filmmaking?
So first and foremost, I'm a husband and father. Beautiful wife Jacqueline and daughter Damishano. And during the day, I actually work as a pretty much electronics technician for the Federal Aviation Administration. And pretty much every aspect of my life kind of ties back into filmmaking. You know, I take different experiences, different stories, and kind of incorporate it into my storytelling. So it all pretty much is one big circle.
Mhm. I want to go to your early timeline. You grew up in Guyana.
Yes, sir.
Give us a glimpse of growing up in Guyana at ages 9, and then tell us a little bit about who you became at age 15.
Age 50, I think
15.
you
15.
add a few years on there. Quite a few, actually. So,
So at age 9, and then what was life like at age 15?
oh, 15. Okay,
Mhm.
gotcha. Like 50. All right. So, to be honest, a lot of my early childhood, um, I remember nothing but happy memories. Growing up in Guyana, nothing but happy memories. I had loving parents, both mother and father. My dad passed away when I was pretty young, but some of the stuff I vaguely remember being so young. But the things that I remember was pretty happy. My dad was very supportive. He loved music. Was very back then you had the turntables with the you played one 45 at a time, and he would sit in front of the stereo all day playing music. So with that, a lot of myself and one of my younger brother, we've been into music since then, and I think we can credit that from my younger age, my dad being so into music. But like I said, being that young, a lot of stuff you don't remember, but there was a lot of happy memories growing up. I was raised on the East Coast, Melanie Damishano, and Bachelor's Adventure actually, but um, back then it was very beautiful city, or I guess was village, and was named after. I don't know if many people know this, after Barnum's daughter at the time. So we had pretty much everything we need out there.
What is your connection to Guyana today?
Guyana, actually, I just recently, my mom still lives in Guyana, and it took me a while to go back. And after, actually, last year was the first time I've been back in 20 something years. And when I got there, I was like, I can't believe it took me this long. But there were certain reasons. My mom lived over here, had cousins and stuff. So, like I said, a lot of younger memories, a lot of stuff I didn't remember. So there was a lot of lost connections with certain family members. But my mom, all my family was over here. But after my mother retired, she moved back to Guyana. So went back to visit, and fell in love with the place all over again. So it's not going to take me 20 something years to revisit.
You mentioned dad and you mentioned mom. What are your fondest memories of your parents?
My fondest memory, well, my for my dad particularly, my dad was in the GDF, the military in Guyana, and I remember he would be gone, on training or whatever he did at the time, and he would come home, and we'd all run to him, and he would, me and my siblings, we'd be in the bedroom, lights off, or either lights off or blackout, and he would tell us these stories. He'd make up stuff and all these old folks tales and try to scare us, which I was scared at the time.
Uh,
That was some I actually miss those stories.
and,
Uh,
and mom.
fun, fun memories.
And your
Um,
mom.
yeah. Pardon me?
And your mom, your mother.
My mom, fondest memory of my mom. I would say I wouldn't go in the direction of fondest memory. I would go as in the direction of values. I credit my mom a lot, and same with my siblings. My mom was very structured and very supportive and very goal oriented, and she kind of instilled that on us in a young age. And I have a story of my mom that one of my young memories that I remember. My mom was terrified of rats, and I remember one time there's a rat was in the yard or something, and my mom jumped on top of the table, and I was freaking out, and I thought it was the funniest thing. Yeah, she threatened us for laughing, me and my brother, but yeah, she couldn't do anything because she was on the table and stuck up there. So we got a good laugh out of that.
If you were to eavesdrop your parents telling a stranger about you,
Mm-hmm.
how do you think they would describe you?
Well, for my mother, because like I said, my dad passed away. I would say that based on the values that my parents instilled in me and the stuff that I've accomplished, I know I'm still young. I still have a lot of stuff that I personally want to accomplish. But I would say that my mom would say that she's proud. She's proud of the direction I've taken, the things I've done. And like everybody else, you go through the ups and downs and the struggles in life. But I feel that I've persevered, taking her values and the values of my family and the support of my siblings and my spouse and daughter, and seeing all that, and my life all together, I think she'd be very proud. And same thing for my dad. I think if he was here, he'd be very proud.
So here you are in New York in 1989.
Mm-hmm.
What stood out for you?
New York, well, actually, we came here one of the coldest days in 1989. Me and my two brothers came first, and I could not believe it. You hear of the snow, and we came in. My mom had her jackets and stuff, so we came out. Just the cold was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I remember the next day, me and my brothers, my mom went to work, and we were at the apartment. And we look outside, and it was like, oh, it's nice and sunny. We can go out and play. No, that wasn't the case. It was so cool. We went outside, in shorts and T-shirt, thinking, oh, we can go play. Yeah, we were fooled.
What was hardest about adjusting for you?
Adjusting, I would think, I would have to say the weather. Even today, that's the reason why I live in Florida. I do not like the cold at all. So I spent approximately 10 years in New York, and right now I go to visit, but I cannot. Adjusting to the cold was major. Shoveling snow, no.
So here you are, filmmaker, first feature film, Haima. How did you come up with the name, and what does the name actually mean?
The name actually means blood. It's actually a Greek word. They have two meanings. There's a Greek and Indian from India. I can't remember the exact detail, but I know that the Indian definition has more to do with like a personality trait. That's why I use that. But ultimately, the word itself is actually a Greek word, and it means blood. And I use that because of the revenge aspect of the film, and my protagonist is out for blood, for revenge of the stuff that happened to her throughout the film.
All right, so Haima, I'm just very curious about this film. When did you actually started working on it?
Okay, I actually started writing the film in January of 2012. And approximately June, I had the first draft of it. And I believe the October timeframe of the same year, I began casting. Casted for approximately 2-3 months. Mm-hmm. And this involved, initial cast. We did 2 cast sessions. We auditioned approximately, I think it was 140 individuals for, I think it was 20 roles. And we began filming in January of 2013. Wrapped filming, I believe it was the end of that year. And over the past, from that time up until early this year, was strictly editing and, pretty much post-production, a lot of editing, adding songs and stuff.
So I gotta ask you this. When did you actually become interested in making movies?
I would say it kind of filmmaking actually found me. I was always passionate about it. Actually started, I started doing music first. Did a lot of performance, and on a semi-professional stage. I was in the military at the time. I met a lot of other military members in the Air Force who, did music. So um, me and my wife used to perform a lot. We actually opened for artists like Wayne Wonder, a lot of hip hop artists, really big ones. And so at my job, one of my coworkers, his wife, used to write movies. She just as a hobby write short films. And at the time, I was doing like wedding videos and stuff, just as a side gig. And she's like, "Well, you're doing these wedding videos. You want to work with me on making a movie?" So I didn't know anything about movie, but I understood the camera techniques and stuff just from experience. So we worked together and make a short film, and that really piqued my interest to learn more about the film industry. And this was actually in 2006, and I spent from 2006 up until when I write this movie, pretty much learning more about filmmaking and developing my craft.
So you mentioned the Air Force, several years. What was that experience like?
Actually, the Air Force is the best decision I made in my life. I believe it just the training, the camaraderie. You meet great people, get a chance to travel, and I have nothing negative to say about the Air Force. It's just a great opportunity, especially for young people. If you're lost out there, you don't know which direction to go. You're trying to find a new career. Try the military. I think there's such a major misconception about what the military is all about, because a lot of people think it's just, you just go to war, and there's just so much skills and values and discipline you get from the military, and just the benefits too. They pay for your school. I left the military in 2005, and I just finished using up my educational benefits. So there's so much benefits for young people out there. Yes, there's a chance of going to war, but on the flip side, there's so much great benefits that you get from the military. And if I had a chance, I would do it again.
As you were making this film, you said you started in 2012. That's 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere along the line, Colin, something is saying to you, well, I'm presuming this. This is tough. This is challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever thought of giving up?
I wouldn't say I thought of giving up. There's times when you're beaten down, and especially in my situation, I took a different approach. I really take a different approach. It was kind of had to be done. So when I decided I was going to make this film, I had to look at it in one place, in a certain way. How much can I afford? And as a young filmmaker or anybody trying to do something, sometimes you have to, and actually my sister told me this a few years ago, sometimes you have to invest in yourself. So what I did, I decided I'm going to make this movie. So I had to decide, okay, how much am I willing to spend? How much can I invest? And then once I did my calculation, did my budget, I realized, okay, a lot of this stuff I'm gonna have to do by myself. That in itself, taking on all these roles, you end up being overwhelmed at times. You have to take breaks, because looking at this film over and over, being so involved in every aspect of it, you kind of get burnt out. And there are times when you're like, okay, I have to walk away from this film. Sometimes it took me about, a month, 2 months, not even touching it, just so I can get re-energized and, go back into it with a brand new perspective.
And those days, Colin,
Mm-hmm.
just for the young people that are listening and looking for inspiration, those days when you didn't feel like getting up, or you just wanted to be away from this film,
Yeah.
who or what got you out of that mindset? What energized you, or who energized you?
Well, support from my family, support from my daughter, support from my wife, and it's not even sometimes it's not even direct. It's like, okay, what's up with this movie? What's going on? People being engaged, and also once you surround yourself with people that are supportive, what end up happening is that even sometimes they might just show an interest in the film. So, hey, what's going on with Haima? And they're like, well, maybe it's time for me to get back on it. Them showing interest kind of re-energize. Okay, somebody outside of outside of me, someone else is showing an interest in this film, which kind of gives you a kickstart again. Also, seeing the end result. If you can, before you even start a film, number one, you should envision and make a plan of, okay, where are you going to go with this film? And so far, before I start making this movie, I already had a plan. Okay, once the movie's finished, what I'm going to do next? Once I did this, the next thing, what's going to come after that? That kind of helps you. And what it does is it gives you encouragement because you actually quantifying your work. If you say, okay, I'm going to do this, and then you do it, then you say, okay, that's a win. Next step. If you try to do it, it didn't work, maybe you need to revisit it. But so far, everything has been working out according to plan. So that in itself also encourages you.
So you're done. Final
I'm,
draft. No, I'm just saying this. I'm
yeah,
setting something. You're done. Final
yeah.
draft.
Mm-hmm.
You take a deep breath. What's going through your mind? How are you feeling?
Well, it was a big relief mostly because of the editing and the dealing with it. It's like, okay, all right, this stage is finished. I can move on to the next stage because number one, it took a little longer than I anticipated. I thought that between the end of production, which is finished filming, to the point of being in post-production, the editing, the music, and all that, I anticipated it probably would take me a year or so. In fact, it took a little over 2 years. So at this time, you got to keep in mind there's actors and other people who have vested interest in the film. Now they're starting to think, oh, I'm never going to see this film, and that's at the back of your mind. But one thing I did, I realized that early on, okay, I'm making this film. I'm not indebted to a producer who give me, thousands of dollars and, constantly calling and questioning, what's up with the film. I'm the sole, the major interest in the film. So I was like, wait, I'm making this film. So what I have to do, I have to make sure that I'm happy with it before I present it to the viewing public. So I had to ignore all the other aspects, people, when is the film's going to be finished? I have to go back to, okay, it's going to be finished when I think it's ready. Because with filmmaking, I could make a film 10 years ago, but once it's released, it's brand new to the public. So it's not like it's going to get outdated.
Mm-hmm. What was your deepest concerns or deepest fear about making this film?
Deepest concern is that how if you put all this work into it, what if people do not like it?
How did you deal with that?
Well, I started dealing with that from the time when I started writing it, because I remember my first film today. I have to look at it in two different aspects. For what it was, and that's the film I mentioned earlier with the co-workers wife wrote. It wasn't a type of film that I particularly would make. It's not a film that I would write. So I kind of felt I didn't stand behind the film that I would if it was a film that I wrote. And it was a film that was more in line with the type of films that I like. So when I wrote this film, I was like, okay, I'm going to write a film that I can appreciate, I can write. And if critics come up and, start saying stuff about the film, it's something that I'm willing to and would be proud to defend for whatever, aspect of the film. So I started that when I wrote it. However, you still, as you go, you're still going to have that anxiety and doubt. So that kind of went away once the premiere and how well the film was received.
Mm-hmm. So let's fast forward a bit.
Yeah.
Central Florida Film Festival. You just screened this film. It also won awards for Best Florida Project.
Yes.
What does this actually mean to you?
Wait, that's a big deal to me, especially because being accepted to the first film festival was that in itself was a win for me, and that's where I set my my goal for the movie to be screened. So the win came that was an added bonus. And it was a shock, especially after seeing some of the other film and how great they were. And then to get a win for that category, that was a major win because I genuinely did not expect the win, but it was a good boost. And when you look back of all the years of working on this film, you kind of, see the reward. You get to see the reward, and then talking to people and getting this win, get the appreciation. You see other people appreciate your work, and that makes it encourages you to move forward.
Well, congratulations, Colin.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Any other film festival called?
I actually got in so far. I got into a total of 4. One in Brazil, which is supposed to start next week, and one in Los Angeles, and there was one in Texas that was last week.
I gotta ask you this: what were some of the hurdles you had to get across making this film?
So getting one was financial. Like as a filmmaker, and actually it's pretty much it's taught that no filmmaker should pay for their own film. So one of the hurdles was I had to pay for this old film, and I started a crowdfunding a few years ago, and was trying to raise approximately 10,000 because that was estimated for my budget, which is not a lot for a feature film. And one of the hurdles was that I did not meet my goal. However, I was still able to, create the film. And certain aspect of the film, even though it was a hurdle, it actually worked out in my interest because the funds that I was trying to raise was going into other aspect of the filmmaking that I wasn't equipped, or I didn't have the training, I didn't know how to do. With me not getting the proper funding or raising the amount of money I wanted to, I ended up having to teach myself how to do these things, which worked out to my benefit. Now I know how to do them, and I could move forward. Another thing that a lot of filmmakers face, especially being in Florida, one of my major problems was the weather. Florida is very unpredictable weather. So, for instance, one day we had a forecast of 90% chance of rain. All day it was sunny, worked out in my favor. I decided to shoot. Another day it was a 10% chance of rain, and it stormed all day. So that's one of the challenges I had to deal with in Florida.
Colin, let's take a quick break.